Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Memory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our 2013 NFL team preview. We're taking a look at the New England Patriots. We're going to break down their offense, their defense, as well as their special teams to see what we can expect from the Patriots this upcoming season.
As long as the Patriots have Tom Brady, they're going to always have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And what makes Tom Brady so special and one of the best quarterbacks in the game today and probably in history is the fact that this guy can play with ice water in his veins. When the game is on the line, no one is more composed than number 12. And that's why the Patriots always will have a chance as long as he's back there in the pocket. And I like the move for Tim Tebow, bringing him in as a free agent. This is an ideal fit for him because they're going to allow him to play the quarterback position. And the reason why Bill Belichick signed him, one, there's no downside to having good football players on your roster. And two, quiet as kept, Tim Tebow does have playoff experience and won a playoff game. How many teams in the National Football League can say their backup quarterback has a playoff victory? And I also like Ryan Mallett. This is a guy that I like coming out of college, compared him to Drew Bledsoe. So the Patriots have three solid quarterbacks on their roster, all of which are capable of coming in and winning a game or two if need be. So I think this is the best quarterback group in the AFC East. The Pats have a very underrated group of running backs right here, led by Stephen Ridley, who ran for over 1,200 yards last season and led the team in rushing. And what I like most about Ridley is his great footwork. It allows him to make people miss in the hole and shows good bursts to finish runs. Now behind him, they bring in LeGarrette Blount from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like his change of pace ability in this offense, also is a very underrated receiver coming out of the backfield. And Brandon Bolden is another guy to keep an eye on. Had a big game versus Buffalo last season. I think he's also ready to contribute to the running game in a big way. And Shane Vereen is another player that they have in the stable that needs to stay healthy, but when he's out there, he's definitely an explosive element that just adds more firepower to the backfield. Patriots have two of the best tight ends in the game in Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski. Both guys provide instant matchup problems for opposing defenses because they move them all around the formation. You'll see Aaron Hernandez utilize his athleticism in the backfield as a receiver. You see Rob Gronkowski out on screen passes, another guy that you could flex out and send him deep down the field. So when you have two tight ends, it's going to be tough to match up against you defensively, and that's why the Patriots are so successful in their passing game. Now, as far as the wide receiver position is concerned, they have to replace Wes Welker, and that's a lot of offense to replace. That's why they went ahead and signed Danny Amendola from the St. Louis Rams. Now, a lot of people are going to pigeonhole Danny Amendola and say, oh, he's a Wes Welker clone. No, he's not. He's his own receiver and a good one in his own right. He just has to stay healthy. This is a guy that you can send deep down the field as well. So he has a variety of routes to his game that he can run, and not just those crossers that they usually ran with Wes Welker. And they still have Julian Edelman in the mix as well. The biggest question I have about this receiving core is, can they stay healthy? That goes for the tight ends as well. And when you look at some of the additions they've also made in free agency, Donald Jones from the Bills and Michael Jenkins from the Minnesota Vikings. They also drafted some rookies that I think can have a huge opportunity to contribute this year. Aaron Dobson out of Marshall, a guy that has excellent hands. Josh Boyce from TCU, one of the best receivers in that program's illustrious history. But keep an eye on Mark Harrison, the undrafted free agent from Rutgers. This is a guy that has Plexico Burress-like ability. 6'3", 230 pounds, can high point the football, and can be an excellent red zone target for this offense. In order to have a great offense, you have to be very good up front, and the Patriots definitely have one of the better offensive lines in the league. When you look at what they do well, number one, they protect Tom Brady. He was one of the least sacked quarterbacks last year, only sacked 27 times, which was tied for 5th in the league. The Patriots up front are lean and athletic. They do a great job of mirroring defenders, and that's why they're able to be successful on offense. When you look at Logan Mankins, one of the best guards in the league. Nate Solder did a fine job moving from right tackle to left tackle to protect the blind side. And we look at the depth along the offensive front. Marcus Cannon coming out of TCU, one of the top college prospects. He can play guard or tackle, and that's the type of depth you want behind your frontline starters like Sebastian Vollmer and Dan Connolly, just giving the Pats more opportunity to stay fresh along that offensive front. And behind starting center Ryan Wendell, I want you to keep an eye on Matt Stankiewicz, an undrafted free agent out of Penn State. I think he has an excellent chance to not only win the spot on the roster, but also the backup job. When you look at the Patriots on the defensive line, you're starting with the defensive tackle position, and you have to like what you see with Vince Wilfork, the 10-year vet out of Miami. They bring in Tommy Kelly, the longtime vet from the Oakland Raiders. That gives them a potent 1-2 punch on the interior, and I like the depth behind them. They bring in Armand Armstead from the CFL Toronto Argonauts, who had an outstanding season with the Argos. You may remember him from USC. Went up north after he left the Trojans, played very well for Toronto, and now he's in the NFL and is working himself in that rotation for New England. Now at the defensive end position, it's a different story. You look at last year's rookie Chandler Jones. He did a sound job in the beginning parts of the season, burst on the scene with a couple of sacks. His focus in 2013 will be to carry that type of production and effort out throughout the course of a 16-game schedule. Rob Ninkovich is a guy that doubles as a linebacker. He'll spend time at defensive end in certain situations. But behind him, like I said before, there's a bunch of guys. They drafted Michael Buchanan out of Illinois. He provides some athleticism coming off the edge. They really want second-year man Jake Beckett out of Arkansas to step up and contribute more so this year as opposed to last. So when you look at the defensive line, there's talent, there's depth, but they have to have that level of consistency in order to be effective. They were great versus the run, but can they consistently provide pressure on the quarterback? Now, I may be in the minority, but I actually like the Patriots linebacking core. I think they have a trio of guys that are very solid. Dante Hightower was a first-round pick last year, and he was as good as advertised all over the football field for New England. Brandon Spikes is a steady player, can cover, and also does a great job in run support. And when we look at Gerard Mayo, you're looking at one of the best linebackers in the league. Now, this year they drafted guys to provide some solid depth. I'm a big fan of Dane Fletcher, who's already on the roster. He's going to be coming back from injury, but Jamie Collins out of Southern Miss has the athleticism that will allow him to play defensive end in certain packages, as well as drop back in coverage and cover tight ends. Now, when we look at Steve Barharnes in the 7th round out of Rutgers, a middle linebacker, very productive throughout his career for the Scarlet Knights, but he can also play outside backer, so they get some versatility with Barharnes, and overall a very solid group of linebackers. There was a lot of moving and shaking going on last year in the Patriots secondary, and that could have contributed to their up and down 2012 campaign. But when you look at it from a talent perspective, there's guys there that can get the job done. Moving Devin McCourty to safety was a great move for him. He's a better safety than he is a corner. They bring in free agent Adrian Wilson to team up next to McCourty. And I know they have Steve Gregory, but look at Tavon Wilson. I think he's ready for his quote-unquote close-up. He did a solid job last year as a rookie. Now on the flanks, Alfonso Dinner was another guy that did a solid job as a rookie, teamed up next to Aqib Talib, who was a late addition to the roster. He's a very talented corner, one of the better corners in the league. Now behind these guys is where you have the question about this Patriots secondary, the depth concerns. Can these guys stay healthy? Razai Dowling was a draft pick a couple of years ago, has yet to stay healthy for a full season. And you also look at the rookie Logan Ryan out of Rutgers. Keep an eye on him. He's a player that has very good all-around game. It can also be an added benefit in the special teams department, as he was an excellent returner for the Scarlet Knights. Kicker Steven Gostkowski and punter Zoltan Mesko gives the Patriots two of the more solid kickers in the game, and they overall have one of the best special teams units. When you look at their coverage team, Matthew Slater is one of the best in the league, Pro Bowler, and they just bring over Leon Washington from the Seattle Seahawks, who's one of the more explosive returners. So when you look at this unit, you see this as a definite strength for the Patriots. Reason for optimism for New England is that since 2001, with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady at the helm, they have never had a losing season. They've only had one season under double-digit wins, and that was a 9-7 campaign in 2002. So when you look at this team, there's always an optimistic approach to the season because they're very talented and very well coached. Cause for concern for New England, in all honesty, would be the cause for concern for any ball club would be the injuries. You have guys like Rob Gronkowski coming off a forearm injury that he re-injured in the offseason. Free agent signee Danny Amendola, whom they're expecting big things from, hasn't proven to stay healthy throughout the course of his career. So they need those guys to stay healthy in order to get where they want to be at the end of the season. Now, what the Patriots have, number one, Tom Brady. Anytime you have one of the best quarterbacks in football history, you're always going to have a chance. Number two, two excellent tight ends, and we talked about this earlier, how that's a very tough thing to defend. And number three, a very good coaching staff, so they're going to always be in the game. Now, what they lack, a true number one wide receiving threat, that's something that's going to have to change. They don't have the depth in the secondary that you want to see, a consistent threat coming off the edge. So there are some slight questions about their defense, mostly depth and a guy that can't be consistent for 16 games. to the Super Bowl for the Patriots goes as follows. Number one, they have to answer the questions at wide receiver. Can they find that guy that they can go to week in, week out as the number one threat? Two, improvement in the secondary. You can't play that bend but don't break. Don't give up a lot of yards. Get off the field on third downs. And number three, continue to stay multiple in your approach. That's one thing that they do very well. They're always switching things up. Just when you think you have an idea what the Patriots do well, they change it up on you, and they do that very well. So continue to stay multiple, and they could definitely find themselves in the Super Bowl. Have the Patriots finishing second in the AFC East. I don't think this team will miss the playoffs, but I don't believe they'll win the division. This is still a very talented team, but they still have slight questions both on offense and defense that have to get answered if they want to find themselves holding the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the season. And I want to give a huge shout out to Patriot fan forums for always showing football game plan support.